Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 2 of the Fed Flash Faceoff. I'm Gary Ryan, the Fed League Flash, and I'm so glad that you could join me for this special episode. Special in that we have a couple of things that we didn't have last week in the premiere episode. And the big thing is an interview with Department of Player Safety head Dave Jackson. Yep, I spent a few minutes with him, talking with him about the supervisory board and a couple other things as well. So make sure to stay tuned for that. We've got our game previews. Not doing picks this time around. When I do picks earlier in the week, makes it kind of tougher to to get a real good bead on the game, especially when there are roster changes, player call-ups, injuries, things of that sort. So we're doing picks separately now. That'll be a WordPress article, which will be on my Facebook page. All right, we also have something new that I'm going to call Flash Chat. And today we're going to be talking about the subject of parity in the FPHL. Do we have it? Well, no. So how do we get there? Do we get there? We'll have a discussion. Look at different sides of the subject. We'll also obviously have news and notes, things that have happened between last weekend and now, the release of this episode. So stay tuned for that. And we're also going to have a lot more stuff. So I hope you enjoy. Sit back. It's a fun ride. We only do this once a week. Of course, I do have the game recaps on the weekends, but this is the big show, as I used to call it on ESPN. So stay tuned for more and enjoy. So as we look at our standings, as they are up to date right now, I did simplify things, took out all the multiple columns that you see on the Fed website, tried to make it a little easier to read and understand. First of all, this is a reminder, top 4 teams, the ones that have everything written in black, those 4 teams make the playoffs, and then you've got 3 that are going to be on the outside looking in. That's in both divisions. Now, remember, you get 3 points if you win in regulation, just a 60-minute game. If you win in overtime or a shootout, it's 2 points. If you lose in either a shootout or overtime, which is this column, it's 1 point. Okay, and that's your total points. Now, points is the deciding factor as far as who gets what seed. All right, the more points you have, the better off. Now, in the event that we have teams with different points, different point totals, or different win percentage could also be used to kind of factor things in as far as a tiebreaker type of scenario. And that may come into play. If we continue to have bad weather like we're having this winter, we may end up losing a game or 2 here or there. So you may end up having a couple of teams playing all 56 games, a couple other teams, maybe they only play 54 or 55. Well, then this win percentage could come into play. So we will see what happens with that. But nonetheless, points first. And everyone has asked from one time or another, there's been a lot of people who have asked me, well, point percentage, how does that work? If you were to win every single game in a 56-game schedule in regulation, you would earn 168 points. If you play your opening game and you win in overtime, you only get 2 points instead of 3. So now your best is 167. So that's kind of factored in to create that number. All right, but again, points is the first thing that we look at. Now, as we look at things, this is really close, isn't it? 51 points for the Bobcats, 53 for the Scarecrows. Now, the Scarecrows have played 3 less games than the Bobcats. So later on down the line, Topeka is going to be making up games, so to speak, and that could be the opportunity they need to create a little separation between these two teams. Although, and we'll get into this in the preview segment, we have a matchup between these two this weekend, so it's going to be really, really interesting. Very intriguing. But yeah, the Bobcats, they struggled for quite a while. They've gone 7-2-1 in their last 10 games, and they have gotten themselves in a position where they're not that far off from third place. So now when we get to the playoffs, the first team plays the fourth team, the second team plays the third team. That's how things match up. So it could be very important as far as getting a couple extra points, getting a higher seed. That could mean facing an opponent that you match up a little bit better against. It's all very interesting how it kind of shapes up. Now, there's been kind of a falling back a little bit with the hat tricks, with the Wolves. They've kind of fallen a little bit behind the Bobcats for a while. These three were really close, neck and neck, and now we've got some separation. There's still time. Most teams have anywhere from 21 to 24 games remaining in their schedule, so that's a lot of time yet. Now, as we get to the Continental Division over here, of course, the Moccasins have been on a roll. They've won 18 in a row, and they're up there on top. Right now, Athens has played one more game than Monroe, but Athens isn't playing a game this weekend. They're having a rest weekend, basically. The Moccasins are only playing one game, but that will mean once that game is played that these two teams have played the same amount of games. And so we'll see, is there just still a 2-point gap, or is there a 5-point gap, or a 4-point gap? We will see. But yeah, that's really becoming a very, very good race between the Moccasins and Athens. And, there are occasions where they're going to be playing head-to-head, so it'll be interesting to see. Columbus is kind of stuck in third place. They're 16 points behind Athens, and they are 20 points above Twin City. So nothing's going to be happening for a while. They're going to be in third place for quite a while. Whether they move up or down, or if they stay put, maybe they end up the year in this third spot. Twin City right now has an advantage in points by 1 over PD. So this has been a really good race too. These two teams have been, right neck and neck as well for about the last month now. And PD currently 1 point behind, but PD does play one game this weekend, and Twin City does not. Twin City having a weekend off. So, again, there is opportunity there for PD to move up. Now, they currently have played the same amount of games, 33 games. So, PD, once they play their game this weekend, regardless of whether they win or lose, Twin City will then have a game on hand on them. And then you have the two teams, Zydeco and Biloxi, have been kind of stuck down there in the doldrums for a while, unfortunately. But really, we have great races between these two teams for this fourth spot, and then we have Monroe and Athens battling out for the top of the Continental. Binghamton Black Bears still well ahead of Port Huron, although they're on a 3-game slide right now, so you never know what could happen. But anyway, the other race that's really good, obviously, is this Topeka and Bobcat race, and we'll see what happens this weekend. Um, you can't see the whole thing. Unfortunately, there's a little bit below there. Just want to recap the 5 stars of the week that I picked. Um, I I basically go by stats. I'm not really impartial as far as I don't like Joe Schmo from Biloxi. So, even though he had 8-point weekend, I'm not going to pick him as the star of the weekend. You get 8 points. If you got 8 points this last weekend, you would be this top star of the week. And that's what happened with CJ Stubbs. Not that he got 8 points, but he got 7. Had 3 goals and 4 assists on the weekend. I picked Parker Rutherford. I always pick one goalie to be one of the stars. And I think that's important to do. Parker Rutherford, 51 saves against Athens. The last 3 times, let's see, 1, 2, 3. 3 of the last 4 games that Rutherford has been in, he's gotten the win against a top team. Twice against Athens, once against Binghamton. Did suffer a loss to Binghamton in one game, but really wasn't that bad. But Rutherford's been playing lights out ever since he joined the Ice Cats, and now he is the guy. I got news on Monday that Matt Sales was being called up to the SPHL. I believe he's with the Fayetteville Marksmen now. So that may only last for a weekend or 2, but Sales is not there. So I'm thinking Ice Cats are going to have to sign a goalie because they released Sean Kuhn a couple weeks ago. They need somebody to back up Rutherford, but Rutherford is the number 1 guy. Anyway, we had Josh LaBelle from the Twin City Thunderbirds. Had 2 goals and 3 assists, including a game winner in overtime. And you can't see it here, but I also have written down Dan Martin from the Blue Ridge Bobcats had a goal and 4 assists, as did Tyler Barrow from the Columbus River Dragons. So those were the 5 stars of the week. I just couldn't quite fit it into the camera shot here, but their names are there. Trust me. So that is our recap of stars and standings for this edition of the Fed Flash Faceoff. A lot more yet to come, so please continue to stick around. Thank you for watching this edition of the Fed Flash Faceoff. Very much appreciate it. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this interview with Dave Jackson, who is the director of player safety for the FPHL. He's also been an NHL referee for well over 30 years. He currently serves as well as the rules analyst for ESPN. He's been doing that since 2021, and he's been more than gracious to take a few minutes to talk here today. Dave, thank you so much for coming on. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it.
Gary, it's my pleasure. You know what? The more fans we can reach for the FPHL, the better it is for everybody. I mean, I do a podcast weekly, the FPHL official podcast. Do it every week, and I keep telling people, it's a great. I enjoy being part of it, and reaching out to you and getting on your show. I think it just reaches more fans, and it just creates more interest. So let's hope. I mean, love or hate me, let's hope it attracts more fans.
Yeah, we'll try not to do anything to inspire any hate mail or anything like that. But I specifically wanted to come on and spend some time talking about the officiating supervisor staff that the FPHL has in place. Even though it's been talked about on the FPHL website, a lot of fans still aren't aware that it exists. So could you just kind of run through the basic premise for having the group and what they do?
Sure. I mean, so let's start with the basics. Our referees are not full-time employees. Like they all have jobs. They all either go to school, they have a full-time job. So when I was in the NHL, I had the luxury of it being my full-time job. You know, I would get there night before. I'd stay in good hotels. I'd get up in the morning, work out, read the rule book a little bit, stay on top of memorandums, videos, have a nap in the afternoon, and show up at the game, you know, prepared. Some of these guys driving through snowstorms, getting to the game, you know, an hour before the game. They worked all day. Some are teachers, some are firemen. I mean, these guys have it pretty tough. And to expect them to be perfect every night, it's just really tough. So that's where we come in, and we understand that. It's single A hockey, but how are we going to make you guys better? And what we do is we have conference calls with them. We have Zoom calls with them preseason. We have a Zoom call. We try to have a Zoom call midseason. And Paul Jean, who's the referee-in-chief, director of officiating, he sends out videos, continuously sends out videos. In fact, the NHL.com has a great video rulebook. If you go to NHL.com, go to their rules and then go to video rules, there is a 6 to 8 minute video describing every penalty you want described, whether it be major penalties, goaltender interference, even as routine as offside. And we send these, not all at once because you don't want them drinking out of a fire hose, but we send 1 or 2 videos a week, and we tell our officials, watch these videos. Any questions, ask us. And they do ask. They send back emails. They'll call me, they'll call Paul, they'll say, hey, what do we do in this situation when this happens, that happens? And then Paul and I try and be on the same page and give them guidance, give them advice. This is how you do it. We have a guy named Wayne Bonney. Wayne Bonney, he lives in Arizona, former NHL and WHA linesman. Well over 2,000 games worked, 5 Stanley Cup finals. I mean, this guy, he ran the Central Hockey League officials years back. This guy's the gold standard of how to achieve success in the National Hockey League. Well, he sends out videos. He watches games online, and he puts together like a 15-minute video synopsis of all 4 guys working with voiceover. And he explains to them what they did right and what he feels they did wrong. But he not only does that, on top of that, he cuts clips. So we have a match penalty tonight, a match penalty tomorrow night. He will cut that clip, and he'll do a voiceover on it, explaining why it was the right call, or, unfortunately, but sometimes, why it was the wrong call. And he'll send that to the entire staff. And they're required to watch these videos, so that we're trying to get everybody on the same page with these videos. And Wayne Bonney is actually now traveling, and he's going to be in the rink supervising these officials live. So when they come off the ice, they'll have a guy to debrief them. He'll be there, and he'll give them notes from the whole game. And you're not there to beat a guy down. You're there to build his confidence. And then but point out, you could have done this right. You could have done this a little better, but I really liked how you did these things. So you want the official leaving there feeling good about his game, but also being left with a couple of tips on how to get better.
Very good, very good. And of course, it's not just Wayne. Of course, you got a couple other very, very experienced and qualified individuals that are part of the board. So they're also involved in the process as well, correct?
Correct. We have a fellow named Mark Parry who did over 2,000 NHL games. He volunteers his time, and he works primarily in the Midwest area and near Michigan and stuff as a league volunteer. And he wants to stay involved in the game. He was a great linesman, and now he goes to games. He does, I'd say he works every second weekend, and he's in the building. He goes and meets the coaches. He deals with any coaches' concerns. They might have video of a call that was made on them last night or maybe last week, and they can sort of use him as a sounding board. Then he goes in, talks to the officials, tells them what to expect, gets to know them on a personal level. If he's there for a 2-game set, he might even go out for lunch with them the next day, maybe go for a beer after the game and talk hockey and just sort of share his experience with them. And at the game, he's there as a buffer. So if something goes south during the game, the GM can go find him, the coach can go find him and ask him, hey, we're frustrated with this call tonight. Can you explain why it was made? And he'll be honest. He'll say it was the right call. He might say it was the wrong call. But either way, the coach and GM feel that they've been heard, which is what really all you want. You want to be heard. You want to know that it's being addressed if something was called incorrectly. Right. And then he'll go into the room and he'll talk with the officials. He might be there 5 minutes. He might be there 30 minutes, depending on what's required. And he will help the linesman with their technique in breaking up fights. He'll help them with their technique in conducting face-offs, taking charge of their face-offs. Then he'll talk with the referees. He'll talk about did they protect the goaltender well enough? Did they step up? Did they show a bit of jam when the game got tough? Did they control the game?
Mm.
And those are all things you go through. What did I think of your conditioning, of your positioning?
Right.
We don't just throw these guys out there and hope that they succeed. We have guys in the building debriefing them as many games as possible. So we got Mark Perry. We have a fellow named Brewster Earl. He lives in Connecticut.
Mm-hmm.
I worked with him when I was in the American Hockey League back in the mid-'80s. The guy worked 5 Calder Cup finals. Probably should have worked in the NHL. It doesn't always work out for guys. But this guy was the gold standard of American Hockey League linesmen. And he travels down to Danbury. He goes to Binghamton sometimes. And he does the exact same thing. He goes in, talks with the GMs, talks with the coaches, and then talks with the officials. And he's there to benefit them. He's not there as a spy. He's not there to find mistakes and criticize them. He's there to build their confidence and make them better. So we've got him. We've got Thor Nelson out of Minot, North Dakota. He comes down sort of in that middle part of the country, and he worked the NHL for over 1,000 games.
Right.
We have Derek Nansen, who just decided he would volunteer to do it. Derek Nansen worked over 1,500 games in the NHL. Right. These are all guys with a wealth of experience. And it just, I guess I reached out to you because it drove me nuts seeing fans go, the referees are unaccountable. The officials are unaccountable. They do what they want. It couldn't be further from the truth. Now, I will say, we don't have the money or the luxury of a situation room the way the NHL does.
Right.
So we can't have somebody watching, like tonight, I think there's 7 games. We can't have 7 games being monitored or watched. And at the NHL level, they got one guy watching every single game. Right. One guy whose sole job, and he's not even there for coaches' challenges and stuff like that. That's the head of the situation room. Right. They're just there to log every single call that was either right or wrong or indifferent, and they're there to log them. And it goes on. It goes on their iPad after the game. You clip them. It's much like an assistant coach, a video coach in a hockey team. He clips breakouts. He clips shots on goal. He clips plays, clips saves. This is the same type of thing. We don't have that luxury.
Right.
So we rely on the games we can watch. We rely on guys, like I just said, the supervisors who are in the building. We rely on Wayne Bonney. He combs over the score sheets after a game, and he looks for abnormalities, irregularities like match penalties, things like that, disputed goals, reviews, things like that. So we do our best to get a snapshot of what happens each and every night, but we're constrained by obviously budget. We'd love a situation room. How cool would that be if we had 10 people in a room every night watching every single game? But unfortunately, sometimes the wish list has to be scaled down in single A hockey.
Oh, exactly. But now this board, the establishment of this board, this was something that was agreed upon by both the executive board and the board of governors, correct?
Correct. Paul Jean at the summer meetings went to them and said, we need it's not a large budget. It's a couple of the guys are just volunteers. But we went to them and said, we need some money freed up to make the officiating better. Right. And they agreed. 100%. And by all means, these supervisors are not getting rich. If anything, they're breaking even when they come home after the weekend. Right. But they're doing it for the love of the game. It's guys giving back to the game who've had tremendous success at the NHL level, who want to stay involved and give back and make officiating better. And that's what these guys do.
Right. And what you're kind of alluding to there, just like the players, some of these officials also want to climb the ladder and head up to the upper ranks. So yeah, it's good to see that there is a process in place that will help boost them to get to them to that level. So yeah, that's great.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's our goal. I mean, you wouldn't put kids on the ice to play hockey without a coach. We try not to put referees on the ice without a coach.
Right. That's awesome. Well, while we're kind of here, let me touch base with a couple things because a lot of fans have been asking me questions. It's like, well, if something has happened in the game and we don't end up hearing about it, and whether maybe there should have been a suspension involved or whatever, how does that process work as far as when there is a play that's in question, especially if it has to do with player safety? What kind of process do the teams go through?
That's a great question. And you're right, there is a lot of misinformation about it. And I will also go back to what I just said. We'd love to have a situation room
Hmm.
where nothing gets missed ever,
Right,
but it's just not realistic.
right.
So what happens is anything that's called on the ice that's more than a minor penalty or a five for fighting, for example, anything else that's called, if it's a double minor for spearing, if it's a major penalty in a game misconduct, a 10-minute misconduct post game, a game misconduct for verbal abuse post game. I look at those.
Mm,
I immediately get notified by the referee post game. This is what we had tonight. I look at those.
mm,
Um, Referees will occasionally also say to me, we did not have a penalty here tonight, but I think we might have missed something. It's worth you looking at.
mm.
That's the second way I look at things. Third way is the coach, either coach of either team, can send me an email, and we really encourage them not to editorialize. We don't want
Right.
your opinion of what happened. We want them to send a clip and say, can you guys please look at this? We think it deserves more scrutiny. And that's a third way we look at it.
Mm,
Once, if your team is playing the next day, it needs to get to me by 9 a.m. You can't be sending me something at 3 in the afternoon and expecting me to look at it and suspend a guy for the lineup that night. It's sort of you snooze, you lose. It
right.
doesn't mean I won't look at it and I might not suspend him, but you're
Mm,
not getting him suspended for your game that night. If it's that important to you, you need to look at it after the game. You need to look at it first thing in the morning. It needs to come to me by 9 a.m.
right. So if a fan takes video footage on their phone at a game and they're screaming about this never got looked at, well, that's because the onus is on the team, correct?
Onus is on the team. Don't be sending it to me if you're a fan on Facebook. But by all means, if you want to send it to the team and the coach wants to look at it and the coach wants to submit it, we will always look at it. Now, there are times where we do comb social media, and we will see, because I left myself that caveat. If it concerns abusive official,
Mm,
or it concerns a lewd gesture or a slur, or its interaction with the fans. If I see if there's a player hits a fan with a stick or something, there are really no statute of limitations on that.
mm,
I'm going to do something. But if it's a hockey play between two players, we need it in by 9 a.m. Or if it's a Saturday night, for example, and the team's not playing, we give you 48 hours to get it in.
all right.
But otherwise, I'm not getting something 5 days later and say, hey, we think this should have been a spear or a check from behind. It's kind of too late. I'll look at it. I might send the video to that team and say, listen, your player got away with this. You might want to tell him he's lucky, and you might want to use it as a coaching tool, because had that come to me in time, he would have been suspended.
Right, right.
But like I said, there's no statute of limitations really if it's interaction with the fans, if it's a lewd gesture, or if it's something concerning abusive officials.
All right. Very good. Very good. That's great. I really appreciate it. I don't want to keep you long because I know you're obviously very busy. You just finished calling analyzing a game on ABC, so I
It's
didn't
it's
want to
been
keep
a
you.
it's been a long day. We had a doubleheader. We started in Detroit at 11 a.m. my time, and I just got finished. Now it's almost 5 p.m. So it's been a long day, and we got a
Yeah,
full slate of FPHL games tonight. So yeah, I'm going to try and catch one or two of them, and let's hope I'm not too busy afterwards.
there you go. There you go. Dave, I want to thank you so much for coming on and just kind of explaining things to us fans, kind of opening our eyes a little bit more and understanding the process a little bit more. Thank you so much for your time and have yourself
It's
a wonderful evening.
it's a pleasure, Gary. We'll do this again. I love your fans. I love the passion that your fans, your followers have, and I just want them to know that whether they agree with me or disagree with me, I really try and do what's best for the game, and I want players on the ice. It doesn't benefit me to have them not playing. So you know what? Suspension is my last resort, but sometimes we got to go there.
Exactly, exactly. It happens on every level of hockey.
It does.
Yeah. So thank you again so much, Dave, and I really appreciate it.
All the best, Gary. Good luck to whoever you're cheering for tonight.
Thanks. Thank you.
All right.
All right, changing things up a little bit from last week. And, oh, wow, there's a lot of glare off of those glasses. That's why I usually don't wear glasses on my videos. Changing things up a little bit. As in the past, whether it's on Facebook or here on YouTube, I've done picks and previews. It's really hard because I'm doing this in the early part of the week. It's really hard to make picks on a Monday or a Tuesday when there's a lot of things that haven't happened yet, whether it's players going on the IR, or maybe they got called up to the ECHL, or there's been a trade, something big that factors into the lineup. And when you have an extra player in the lineup, well, that can make a big difference. If you're missing a player in the lineup, that can make a big difference. And needless to say, I did not do well with my picks last week because I made it so early. So what I'm going to be doing is here on YouTube, we'll do our previews, and then I will give you my picks via the WordPress page, which I'll post on my Facebook. And I'll do that on Thursday. So there you go. So now it's just game previews. Nothing catchy about that, but that's okay. All right, so we have 7 games altogether, or 7 matchups, but not all teams are playing. Idle this week are Athens, Port Huron, and Twin City. So we have some teams playing 2 different teams. We've got different matchups. We have one team only playing 1 game. So it's kind of an odd weekend. We've got 5 games on Friday, 5 on Saturday. 10 games altogether, but it's 7 different matchups. There you go. All right, so the first one, meeting on Friday and Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern. It is going to be the Indiana Sentinels traveling to Binghamton to take on the Binghamton Black Bears. The last two times, I should say, that the Sentinels and Black Bears played each other was back in week 4, I believe. It was either week 4 or week 5. The makeup of the Sentinels team is very much different. And to a degree, it's also very different for the Black Bears. There have been some additions, there have been some subtractions on both sides. So as we look at things head-to-head, the 2 times they met before, Binghamton won both games by a combined score of 10-2. So in the middle here, I've written head-to-head, 2-0 and 10-2 in the score. All right. The big difference here is the offensive output. Indiana only averaging 2.9 goals scored per game, which is not the bottom of the league. Binghamton, 5.1 goals scored per game. That is 3rd in the league right now. As we look at things kind of in their current light, Indiana, they battled a lot of injuries for a long time, and they're finally pretty much healthy. Basically, the guys who are taking the ice are not playing hurt. You don't have 2 or 3 people out on IR, and so they're pretty good. Now, a factor for them that might contribute to maybe making a little bit of noise this weekend is their team speed. Combine that with the fact that Binghamton's defense over the last couple of weeks just has not been synchronous. It's been kind of off. So that could create some offensive opportunities for the Indiana Sentinels. They've knocked off teams towards the top of the standings before. They've beaten Port Huron 3 times. Of course, they swept Topeka last week, and now they're thinking it's Binghamton's turn. We'll see what happens. I think 2 key players in this game or the 2 games rather. Brandon Zinchenko, again, finally healthy, and he's got 11 goals to lead the team. right now, Indiana's missing a couple players that are called up to the SPHL or the ECHL. So that hurts their depth a little bit, but Zinchenko, he's here and he's good. For Binghamton, Mac Jansen, he went on a huge goal-scoring tear earlier this year. Had a little bit of time up in the ECHL, came back down, and then he kind of cooled off for a while. But he's back on fire again. He's scoring goals again, so he could be a key player. Again, I'm not going to give you a prediction here because as I'm recording this, it's Tuesday. Games are still 3 days away. A lot can happen in 3 days. So I'm not going to venture a prediction here. The next matchup that we have here is the Watertown Wolves and the Danbury Hat Tricks. Right now, on the outside looking in for that final playoff spot in the Empire Division. Remember, only 4 teams go to the playoffs. So right now, Danbury's in 5th, Watertown's in 6th. They're looking to climb back in it right now. Both of them have struggled at times with defense, not consistently. It's not like they're consistently bad defensively, but they've had stretches where things just aren't really good, and then they'll come back the next week and it's like, well, this looks like a whole different team. Minus 49 goal differential for Watertown, a minus 20 goal differential for Danbury. But neither of these teams are bad teams. And they've played pretty evenly. Danbury has won the last 3 meetings head-to-head, now holding a 7-4 advantage in the matchups, outscoring the Wolves 51-39. They're meeting again. I believe they play 17 times altogether, which is just ridiculous. But they didn't create the schedule, so they've got to play the hand they were dealt. All right. For the Watertown Wolves, one of their big struggles that they've had this year is they commit a lot of minor penalties. They're not a dirty team. They don't do anything egregious. It's just they get loose with the stick, they get behind the play, and so when you get behind the play, you tend to take some chances. Your arm gets out there, or your stick gets out there, or your foot gets out there, leads to a lot of minor penalties. They're nowhere near the lead in penalty minutes in the league, but it just seems they spend a lot of time in the box, and it's almost all 2-minute infractions. They have very few major penalties this year. Very few. For Danbury right now, they're trying to find their way after what happened with Johnny Ruiz. They're without their captain, and Johnny means so much to the team. Considering everything that happened with Johnny's stroke early in the week, and then just 2 days later having to travel down to Blue Ridge, I thought Danbury played well last week. Obviously, they came up short in both games, but nonetheless, they've got to kind of find their way. And this is the group of guys you have in the locker room. They've got to unite and just kind of pull together and find a way of stringing together for some wins. And I think they can. 2 key players, I would say, for these two. For the Wolves, it's Stephen Klink. I've mentioned it before in, I believe I mentioned in one of my WordPress articles, that Klink is one of the few players in this league that I feel like that can just turn it on. It's almost like throwing a switch. So we'll see what happens. He has 22 goals, 23 assists on the season. For the hat tricks, Austin Belfay, I think he is. I think his potential is a lot higher than what he's reached so far. I'm not saying he's, playing poorly. I just think he can be that guy for Danbury. He's got speed. He's got size. He's got talent. He's got 9 goals. I think he could easily, if he really kind of asserts himself and really kind of owns his own play, I think he could get 21, 22, 23 goals by the time the season has ended. These games will be played 7:30 on Friday and 7 o'clock on Saturday. All right, I'm dragging a little bit, so I'm going to kind of speed it up here. Columbus and Biloxi. They've met 6 times. Columbus has won all 6, outscoring Biloxi 35-18. Here's the streaks. They've won their last 6. They've lost their last 7. Right now, I'm not sure about offensive depth. You've got Ryan Hunter up in the ECHL. You've got Yaroslav Yevdokimov up in the ECHL. You do have a couple of players. Tyler Barrow has played very, very well this year. Alex Storjahan, we'll mention in just a second. He as well, but there really just has not been a whole lot of depth scoring for the Columbus River Dragons this year. On Biloxi, they've had their struggles in a lot of different areas. They thought that Borodkin was back to health on the IR, and then he ended up getting hurt, leaving early. I have since heard directly from Anton himself, and he said, "Really not that bad. I think I'll be all right." So you wonder how healthy he's going to be, but from the indications I've gotten from him, he's looking forward to playing. So that would be really big. And no diss on Rahul Sharma. Sharma has been very good in the starts that he's gotten, but you can only do so much, whether you're Borodkin or Sharma. You can only do so much when you're facing 55, 60, 65, 73 shots per game. That's an awful lot to be conceding. So the defense has really got to shore up. Key players for this, Alex Storjahan, he's been red hot the last 3 weeks. Maybe he's thrown a switch. He's got 46 points on the season now. I've noticed a trend with Biloxi, in spite of their struggles. When Darius Davidson is on, the whole team seems to get a big lift and they play much better. So I think Davidson he's going to be kind of like that spark plug guy. As Davidson goes, I think the team goes. He's got 9 goals, 9 assists on the season so far. Friday, this game will be 8:05. Yes, it's just Friday. It's a one and done. And then Biloxi moves on, and Columbus, they move on too. All right. We go to the Bobcats versus Topeka, and this is my matchup of the week. A lot of urgency here because guess what? Blue Ridge is only 2 points behind Topeka for that 3rd spot. The Bobcats, they struggled for the first half of the season. They really, really struggled. The last 10, they've been pretty darn good. 7 wins plus an overtime loss, so it points in 8 of their games in the last 10. That's really, really good. Topeka, they've kind of fallen into an in-between state. They've gone 5-5 in their last 10. They've never been offensively proficient. Never have been. But their defense, that's their calling card. Their defense is very, very good, usually. There's been a couple of lapses here and there as of late. So we'll see if in practice this week they get things figured out and play back to their potential. We will see. The offense is red hot right now for the Bobcats. And for Topeka, the offense has been struggling, which puts more stress on the defense. So if the defense doesn't play up to their usual standards and they let 1 goal extra in, well, that could make a big difference between a win and a loss. Topeka does not surrender a lot of goals. I think there's been 1 game that they've surrendered more than 5. So not bad. Friday, they're playing, both days. They're playing 8:05 local time. I'm sorry, 8:05 Eastern time. Got it backwards. 7:05 local time. All right. Just so has been red hot. 14 goals in just 10 games with the Bobcats. He has just really been a part of that offensive resurgence that the Bobcats have experienced. Sammy Bernard, he's played well. He has a couple of shutouts this year. He's either really, really on, or he's kind of middle of the road. I won't say bad, because he really hasn't had a bad outing. But he's got to make sure that he's got his A game going. All right. Then we go to Monroe. Another one and done. This is just this game between Baton Rouge and the Moccasins. Yeah. 10 games so far they've played. 9 times the Moccasins have come out on top, outscoring Baton Rouge 45-19. But I didn't write it here, but I wrote it down here. The big concern is the last 7 games that these two teams have faced off against each other. Baton Rouge has only managed a total of 8 goals. A lot of these 19 came in the first 3 matchups of the season. So, and that was very early, as Monroe was kind of trying to figure things out and tweak their roster and get to what they have now. So it's been night and day difference between the first 3 and the last 7. Yeah, big difference. Baton Rouge, again, I know I've harped on this, but you've got to score more than 2.3 goals per game. You just have to. Now, considering how little they've scored, to have a goal differential of minus 56 through 32 games, that's not bad. You're giving up a goal and a half more per game on average. But, okay, so that's still under 4 goals per game that they're giving up. So their defense, their team defense, is very good, very steady. Unfortunately, you come up against the Moccasins, who are scoring 5.4 goals per game, leading the league, and they've got a plus 86 goal differential. That's a big difference. I put this as a question and the deciding factor here. Do you go with Connor Green or do you go with Ed Coffey? Both goaltenders have been pretty good in spite of their win-loss records, because, again, the whole team isn't looking really good right now with the win-loss record. But both goaltenders have played very well in their own rights. That's a good, tough decision that Coach Chad Bailey has to make. It's like, who do I put in net? I got both guys, are both playing well. For Monroe, 8 scorers now with 10 goals at least. Double-digit goal scorers, 8 of them. That's insane. So who do you start? Green or Coffey? This is the closest thing I'll come to a prediction for the video. I kind of think that most likely Bailey will go with Green, because he has been lights out. He's been making just amazing highlight reel saves. So, you go with the hotter goalie. That's just my opinion. For Monroe, Jared Christie, he is overdue. He is snake bit right now, and it's not for lack of effort. He has played very aggressively. He's been part of the offense, cycling the puck and taking shots. It's just not going in for him for whatever reason, and that's not his fault. It happens sometimes, but he's due. He is due for a big outing. Will they be this one? We'll see. Okay, one of our one-offs, PD playing their only game of the weekend. They will be traveling to Columbus. Now, well, I'll get to that in a second. Here we go. They've played each other 5 times. Columbus has won 4 of them. Again, many of those games earlier in the year. We'll see what happens. Even though it's 4-1, the goal differential is not that far apart. 21 goals for Columbus, 17 for PD. they're doing all right. They're kind of middle of the road with scoring goals. For PD, it seems like the Rutherford effect. It seems like their resurgence, because right now they look like giant killers or giant beaters, despite their win-loss record. It's coincided with Rutherford coming in. Now, I think that's two things. I think Rutherford is playing extremely well, but I think team defense has greatly improved also in front of Rutherford. And so, it's kind of a dual effect. Columbus, I gotta wonder about travel lag because they're hosting or they're traveling to Biloxi the day before. Then they gotta get on their bus and make, I believe it's about a 5.5 hour drive back home. So could that play to PD's advantage? We'll have to see. Okay, Alexander Lakov, 5 goals in 7 games since joining PD, since he got traded. He's fantastic. He offers speed. He offers a little bit of grit in the corners. He's one of the reasons why PD's offense has improved. You combine him with the likes of Trevor Lord and the Marcinkiewicz brothers, you got yourself a pretty good offense. I did write, and I wrote this on Monday night, and then Tuesday morning, I find out Yudakimov got called up to the ECHL. So, is he going to be the X factor? Nope, not not this weekend. Not this weekend. So we'll just ignore that. This game will be played at 7:05 Eastern on Saturday, and then the final game is Baton Rouge moves from Monroe to Biloxi. Biloxi stays at home, and they face each other. And these are the two teams at the bottom of the Continental Division right now. They've each won 3 games against each other. They've played each other 6 times, 3 apiece. Just a 1 goal differential with goals head to head, 21-20. And here is a strange statistic. Now, both teams have 6 wins. 6 wins here, 6 wins here. 3 of those 6 wins have come against the opposition. So, this is going to be kind of a dogfight, I think, because they're both kind of equal opportunity right now. They both got a chance at this. They both got a good shot at winning. So I think it's going to be a pretty intense game. This will be played 8:05 Eastern, 7:05 local. And that wraps it up. That is Week 18 previews. Again, picks will be on Facebook via the WordPress page.
I can't hear you. You'll have to speak into the microphone.
What did he say?
All right, so this is more of an informal segment of the Fed Flash Faceoff that I'm going to be doing from time to time. Not every show, but as interesting topics of discussion come up, we'll devote a segment to it and talk about it. So, since it's informal, a little cider. All right. In this edition of Flash Chat, we are talking about the subject of parity. Now, I think we can all agree that right now there is not an awful lot of parity in the FPHL. Hasn't been for years. This year in particular, you have 3 teams that are heads and tails above everyone else. You look at the standings and it's pretty obvious. You have about 7 teams kind of in the middle, not doing terribly, not doing fantastic. And then you have 4 teams, I'll call them the have-nots. You got the haves, your 3 teams, and the have-nots, the 4 teams that are just really struggling. Not just with win-loss record, but in many cases as well, financially, things going on behind the scenes. Just things are not all roses and unicorns. So we have the situation we have for several years. The last time that we really had any kind of degree of parity or close to it in the FPHL was probably during the season that got cut short by COVID, where we had 10 teams. Now, I'm not counting in this whole thing the Battle Creek Grumblebees. That was just a huge, mismanaged, rushed mess right from the get-go. But the other 9 teams, they all, were fighting for positions in the playoffs. The playoffs were not that far off, only about a month off when the season was cut short. You had 4 teams that had 90 points or more. So had we reached the playoffs, I think it would have been very intriguing. As a matter of fact, I did a video a couple summers ago, talking about this season and kind of a what if. Who would have won? Who was the most likely candidate to have won the Commissioner's Cup that year? You can go back and find that. But anyway, we haven't had that since COVID. There's always been 1, 2, 3 teams that are just, way, way up into another level that other teams can't seem to climb to. So why is that? What has caused this lack of parity? Now, there's 3 things really this year. I'm sure that we could look at each individual year going back and find reasons, individual and separate reasons for each year why there was some disparity in the league. But now, this year, you can identify really 3 main causes. First of all is money. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out that there's a lot of creative bookkeeping that goes on throughout the league. A lot of teams are paying money under the table, but there are 3 teams in particular that have done this maybe to excess, depending on your point of view. Now, I'm not going to name teams. We all know who they are. Another problem has been teams deliberately exceeding the roster limit. The roster limit is supposed to be 20, plus your optional third goaltender if you so choose to carry it. So 21 is the maximum that you can have. We've had teams that have had 23, 24. At one point, one team had 25 on their active roster. And it's there. Another thing that's been going on is abuse of the failed to report status. Now, since failed to become what it was intended to be, teams have used it to stockpile players on their inactive lists. It doesn't count against the regular roster, and they're able to stash a couple players away, which the league said that it wanted to get away from. But nonetheless, we have the situation here. Now, use of these advantages does not necessarily lead to success. Currently, the 2 teams that are over the roster as I'm recording this, neither have a winning record. So that doesn't guarantee that if you want to be just kind of juvenile and use the term they're cheating, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's benefiting them. All right, but we do have those situations. Compare, for an example, too. Teams have different budgets. They depending on your market, depending on what you're doing for advertising, what your revenue is, what your revenue stream is with corporate sponsorships and whatnot, your budget might be more. Take, for example, this upcoming weekend, we have a match between the Indiana Sentinels and the Binghamton Black Bears. I can tell you with absolute 100% surety that the budget for the Binghamton Black Bears is higher than the Indiana Sentinels. And there are many reasons for that. All right, which we're not going to get into on this one. Maybe that's a discussion for a future video. But nonetheless, we have that situation. So why the lack of parity? Well, we have the fact that with budgets, things like that, all ownership groups are not the same. The owners don't start with the same amount of capital. They don't have the initial net worth that others do. You have disparity. If you become an owner of a team, or if you're a part of an ownership group, you do the best you can with what you have, and that is the key right there. The other reason why we have this amount of disparity is a lack of willingness by the league to enforce these rules, allowing teams to get creative and find ways of gaining an advantage. All right. And we have a listed salary cap in place, but a lot of teams find creative ways around it. On their books, they'll say, oh yeah, we're under the cap. But under the table, we're paying a few extra $100 to so-and-so. And it happens. Has for years. All right. So the next question is, how can we obtain parity? Well, first thing is strict enforcement of the salary cap. Find ways of saying, look, we're going to watch very closely if we see that you are paying Joe Schmo an extra $300 a week, we're going to put a stop to it. You're going to be fined. You're going to be, that player is going to be ineligible until you're cap compliant, so on and so forth. Okay, you can also enforce roster limits. You say, oh, I'm sorry, we're watching your rosters. We have somebody watching the rosters. You have 23 players. That ain't going to fly. Cut 2 players immediately, or you'll be fined. These players will be, suspended, made ineligible, whatever. Okay. And the other thing is you can balance a schedule. Just using as a for example, this season, Monroe has been able to have great success because they play a weaker schedule. Same with Binghamton. Binghamton, half of their games are against teams that are currently outside the playoff race. Same with Monroe. Meanwhile, you have teams like PD, Twin City, Port Huron, plays a tougher schedule, plays a better balance of teams. So, the imbalanced schedule, which is primarily made to help cut travel costs, really benefit, or does it, a couple of teams. It favors a couple teams. You get the higher seed in the playoffs because, you've played a weak schedule. However, that could come back to bite you at the end. Are you really prepared to take on this team you're now facing in the playoffs? Because, hey, you had a pretty weak schedule. This team is better than what you've been facing. Are you prepared? All right. So those are some ways that we can help create more parity. But now here's the final question. Is parity really being sought after by the league? Is it the best thing for the league? That might seem like a strange question to ask, but let me go on. All right. A lot of people have said, well, why doesn't the league change some of its policies? And ultimately, it boils down to fans in the seats and money. All right. And I'll explain that a little bit here. The league may be, and I'm not saying that I know that they are, so that's why I'm saying maybe, the league may be hesitant to enforce changes because of a couple of reasons. First of all, right, the league recognizes that big names, big talent, that draws fans. It draws people into the arena. Monroe fans, I'm sure that you're more excited about seeing Austin Albrecht play than, say, Ben Stefanini. You might like Ben Stefanini, and you should, but nonetheless, Albrecht is the big name, big talent. He's played in the SPHL and the ECHL. He's a guy we can build our team around. All right, you're not building a team around Ben Stefanini. No disrespect meant. Stefanini is a great player in his own way and in his own right. Binghamton. All right, you're not going to going to the game to see Chicho Latham play. You want to see CJ Stubbs. You want to see Gavin Yates. Okay, the big names draw the fans in. And one of the ways that the league generates money is ticket sales. It's one of the big three ways. So the more fans that they can get in seats, the more money they make. And recognizing that because of budgets and budget constraints by some teams, again, all owners and ownership groups are not the same. Binghamton has the ability to draw a player like CJ Stubbs and attract them to the team, as opposed to Indiana. Stubbs is going to want to play for Binghamton if he can, as opposed to Indiana. All right. And again, that's just how things happen. Another reason, optics. As you draw fans, as you expand in new markets, because new markets are excited about all the fans coming in, this now becomes kind of a domino effect. Now you're getting new markets in that, they may or may not be able to attract the big name players. But overall, hey, talent's here. The talent's coming here. They're choosing to play here in the Fed. So it's good. It's growth. It might be kind of hollow growth. And so you end up with situations like HC Venom and the Dashers and some other situations where the team ownership was just not prepared to handle the cost of being competitive. So you have that disparity there. More teams looks like growth, okay, but it's not necessarily growth. You say, hey, the FPHL has 14 teams this year. 4 seasons ago, they only had 7. That's growth. Yes and no. And again, this is probably a sub-discussion for another time. But we do end up with these situations. So you have a catch-22. If you're in the position of being a league official and you're in charge of running the league and getting the league going and operating the league and overseeing its growth, well, you're thinking, what we have here isn't a bad thing. So the league might not want to pursue parity so quickly because, again, the big teams are drawing the fans. Like this year, we have 5 teams currently that are drawing over 4,000 fans a game, which is great. That means you have 9 teams that are not. Now, some teams don't have barns that are that capacity, but nonetheless, you have teams, and I'm not picking on Watertown, but Watertown, you have an arena, it's a small arena, seats 1,500 people, you're drawing 670 fans per game. All right, not filling the seats. And as a result, you're not selling tickets. You're not getting that revenue stream in. So you're not able to sign and attract the players that can make you competitive. It's that catch-22 again. So, just because you have the big names and, the seeming growth of the league does not mean that you want to tinker with that. Now, here's the other thought, and I wrote it down here in the bottom. The FPHL is competing for players, for talent, with other leagues. They're competing with the SPHL. They're competing with the ECHL. They're competing with teams in Europe. They're competing with, to a lesser degree, juniors teams. They want the talent to come here. How do you do that? Well, you promise a winning culture, great facilities, great housing, great money under the table. You offer all these things, keeps the talent coming in. We have had a bigger influx of talent this year than any other year in the history of the FPHL, and it's primarily driven by money. And again, a lot of that talent went to the top 3 teams. So you have all of this going on, because if you have teams that are really competitive, well, again, in the eyes of the hockey community at large, well, that's good. Those are good optics. Looks good. Great growth. But is it? Nonetheless, regardless of whether it is or isn't, the image is there and it's being presented. So the league might not think that parity or forcing parity is such a good idea. All right. These are just some thoughts that I wanted to talk about. I'm not going to give you my opinion, and I'm doing that on purpose. I'm doing that on purpose because, first of all, I want you to make up your own mind about how you feel about parity or lack thereof. Is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? Is it somewhere in between? These are questions that you, the fan, need to ask yourself. And you can formulate your opinions and your views, and that's fine. That's good. I think a more educated fan base is good for the game of hockey, regardless of what league it is. So I just wanted to voice all this, kind of chat over it with you, present some thoughts and some ideas, and now you can formulate your own opinion. And if you want to even grab a soapbox and stand on it for a little bit and say, this is what I think and why, awesome. That gets people talking. It gets people thinking about the quality of the FPHL and of other leagues as well in general. That's a good thing. All right. So there we go. That's how I'm going to leave it with you. Let's go on, shall we, to our next subject. Well, of course, we can't have a Fed Flash Faceoff without news and notes. So this is our final segment for this video, and let's just go through some of the things that have happened. As I am recording this, it is midweek, leading up to the release of this episode. So, wanted to start to talk first about the Monroe Moccasins and this winning streak that they've been on. It's an 18-game winning streak. That's the second longest, or tied for the longest, actually, over the last couple of seasons. Last year, Binghamton also had an 18-game win streak that was snapped. The record is 22, which is held by the 2018 and 2019 Carolina Thunderbirds, now the Twin City Thunderbirds. Kind of felt weird saying Carolina Thunderbirds there, but anyway. So they hold the record with 22 straight wins, 22 consecutive wins, and Monroe is getting pretty close now, aren't they? They're at 18. So I thought, well, how much possibility is there that they could reach or break the record? Well, I thought, let's look at the upcoming games. Now, this weekend, as we've already discussed in the game previews, they have a single matchup against Baton Rouge this weekend. So I think their odds of that are pretty darn good of winning that game, which would take them hypothetically to 19. I'm saying hypothetically because, of course, the games are played on the ice, not on paper, not here on a video. So, unless you're playing like NHL 94. So anyway, the next games that the Moccasins have are against the Athens Rock Lobsters. No easy feat. 2 games next weekend against the Rock Lobsters. And I can tell you right now, that's going to be the game of the week for next week, no doubt. As both teams not only are fighting to see if the Moccasins can keep the winning streak going, but they're also fighting for first place because as I'm recording this, the teams are only divided by 2 points. So, 2 matchups against Athens. Now, it's worth noting, as I wrote here, that 5 of Monroe's 6 losses, they only have 6 losses total, 4 in regulation and 2 in overtime. 5 losses have come at the hands of the Athens Rock Lobsters. The 6th one was opening night against Baton Rouge. But now 2 of those losses that the Moccasins have, again, being in overtime, they extended the Rock Lobsters to overtime in 2 of those previous 6 matches. So this is going to be a major challenge. If the Moccasins can sweep the weekend, I think their odds are pretty good because then their next opponent would be Sunday against Topeka. Now, all these games are at home, so that greatly helps Monroe out. They've got the home crowd behind them, and they're not going on an extended road trip for a while, so this is a possibility. So they'll be facing Topeka on Sunday. And then the following weekend, they play a pair against the Twin City Thunderbirds, who look to be kind of coming on as of late as they swept Binghamton this last weekend. So that wouldn't be easy either. So we'll see what happens. Hypothetically, if the Moccasins beat Baton Rouge this weekend, sweep Athens the following weekend, plus the Sunday matchup against Topeka, they could be going into the matchup with the Thunderbirds tied up with the record at 22. Twin City, I think, wants to protect that record. So I know it's a different name, but it's the same franchise, same organization. So we'll see what happens, but I think it's pretty interesting. And I just wanted to spend a couple minutes kind of talking about that. All right, let's check out the Minnesota Northern Lights. Yep, got the moose. Got the moose. I know everyone's taste as far as logos and jerseys and color schemes and all that differ. Some people are going to really like this. Some people are going to, yeah. I really like it. I love the color scheme, the green, the purple, the black and white. I think it's really, really sharp, and I think the mascot's kind of fun there, with the moose head. Of course, they also have a very nice outline of the state of Minnesota that they're probably going to have as a shoulder patch. Eventually, I'm going to be printing out a magnet that is the team shield. So anyway, so yeah, news from Minnesota. First of all, they are having a season ticket sales event at the Little Ralph, as it's nicknamed, the Ralph. What is it? Yeah, I have it right here. Ralph Engelstad Arena. Maybe I should put my glasses back on. So that's happening this Saturday. For anyone who wants to purchase The first few season ticket sales, first few season tickets are available. You can go in, you can choose your seat, buy your season tickets, get them secured. And yeah, I know it's still 9 months away, but yeah, that's a good first step. Another step that they have taken, and this is really good. This is a good indication of the team preparing, getting everything set as far as taking care of the important behind the scenes stuff. They've already secured 2 corporate sponsorship accounts. And that's very important. That is the primary way that teams at this level of hockey, low minor league, receive income and generate capital and pay the bills. So it's very good to see that Minnesota is already getting that in order. Very good. Now, thing that might pique your interest a little bit. There is going to be a contest, and the way this is worded, it sounds like it's just around the corner. It hasn't started yet. Minnesota said when their Facebook page hits 1,000 followers, and when I started recording this on Tuesday evening, they were at 980. So they need 20 more. Once they reach 1,000, they will be launching a contest in which you follow their page. Make sure you like and follow their page. Tag someone that you think would also like to, follow the Minnesota team, and share the post or share their page on your page. Do that, and you could have a chance at getting some free merchandise, or better yet, if you're in the Minnesota area, free tickets. So that's going to be a contest coming up just around the corner. So watch for it. Watch the Minnesota Northern Lights team, their socials, Facebook. Just type in Minnesota Northern Lights, click follow, and yeah, you can keep up to date with what's going on with the new expansion team for the 2026-27 season. Speaking of expansion teams, one of this year's expansion teams, the Indiana Sentinels, they did not announce this on their Facebook page or on their official team page, but this has been going on for a few weeks now, and I wanted to make mention of it. Yeah, they are broadcasting now on their YouTube channel the away games. At the beginning of this year, it was just the home games. Jim Mirabello doing the play-by-play call, and he still is doing that. But now they've added the road games as well. And Andy Petzinger, who spent some time with the Baton Rouge organization last year, he has joined the Indiana staff, and he is your play-by-play voice for games on the road. So this upcoming weekend, if you want to tune into the YouTube channel for the Indiana Sentinels as they take on the Binghamton Black Bears, you can do that and hear Andy Petzinger with the call there on the Indiana YouTube and Sportfeed pages. So I just wanted to make mention of that because, yeah, a couple weeks ago I tuned into a game and I was like, wait a minute, this isn't Jim. Who is this? Jim Mirabella again is still with the team. He will be doing the home games, I guess, because of personal obligations. He's not able to travel, but yeah. So yeah, it's a nice little setup. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, enjoy it. Tune in. All right. Talking about the league on the whole, first of all, did want to mention the one trade that was announced beginning of this week. Jacob Wolf, who started the year with Topeka, got traded to Blue Ridge, played a couple games with Blue Ridge, and then Blue Ridge basically kind of ran out of roster spots available for him because they were getting players back from the SP and whatnot. So he got moved to inactive. Well, now he has been traded to the Indiana Sentinels. for financial considerations. That seems to be the way to go this year in the league. Is you're not trading player for player usually, although there has been a couple of occasions with that. Usually it's for financial considerations, and that could be cash, that could be travel arrangements, that could be help with putting gas in the bus. Not cheap. Putting gas in the bus is a lot of money. So it could be a whole different array of things, but it is something of financial worth is given back. So that trade has taken place. Now, I don't know why, but there has not been a lot of activity on the transactions page for the Fed website as of late, especially when it comes to players getting the opportunity to play in other leagues, especially if they're called up. So I just want to run through really quick. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different names of players that have moved up the ladder a little bit, and just want to mention those. So with the Athens Rock Lobsters goaltender William Lavalier, he has been called up as I'm recording this. He may be back for the weekend. I don't know. But as of right now, as I'm recording this, he has been called up to the Trois Rivières team in the ECHL, which is AA, of course. So that's a good opportunity for him. Yaroslav Yevdokimov, for a while with the Breakers, then he got traded to Columbus. Now he is playing for the Utah Grizzlies, also of the ECHL. Meanwhile, teammate Ryan Hunter, even though this was last week, again, there was no mention of it on the transactions page, so I want to share it. Ryan Hunter has been called up to the South Carolina Stingrays of the ECHL. For the PD Ice Cats, a couple of their players have moved up to the SPHL. Goaltender Matt Sales was signed by the Fayetteville Marksmen, and Nathan Carl has been signed by the Macon Mayhem. Carl played with Macon earlier, I believe a couple games this year and some time last year as well. So there you go with that. Topeka, late last week, TJ Sneath got the opportunity to get the call up to Utah of the ECHL. So 4 call ups to the ECHL, and that is really big. There have been more call ups this year than any other season in history in the Fed, players going from the FPHL to the ECHL. Now, I know that in some of those instances, it's only for a game or a weekend, but still, this is big. It used to be the ECHL wouldn't even consider taking on players from the FPHL. They would just look at the SP and say, hey, who you got? We need a player for the weekend. Now they're looking at both the SPHL and the FPHL. That is a good, positive step, a step up in the right direction, I believe, for the Fed. Relationships are being developed with the ECHL teams, and that's a really, really good thing. So more players are going to have a chance at moving up the ladder, and even if they only get 1 or 2 games, they've gotten a look-see, they've gotten an opportunity to kind of see where they stand with things. Hey, can I play at the next level? Let's give it a try. And so this is a very good thing. It's a good developmental step by the FPHL. All right, to close this out, we'll talk a little bit about what's coming up next for the Fed League Flash. Of course, Friday, I will give you my picks, my predictions for this weekend's games. It'll be on the WordPress page, which I then share to my Facebook page. So you can check that out there. Of course, as always, Saturday and Sunday, we will have our game summaries for the games this weekend here on YouTube. And then our next edition of the Fed Flash Faceoff will be released again Thursday morning next week. I am working on getting an interview set up right now hopefully in a different surrounding, a different environment. So I'm just waiting to hear back, but hopefully I'll be bringing you another interview exclusive, just like the one you had on this edition with Dave Jackson. So look forward to that. And always remember to make sure you're following me on my Facebook page, as well as here on YouTube. Facebook is where, as news happens, I post things there, and then we expound on it and spend some time talking about it here on YouTube. Also, make sure to check out my WordPress page. You just go to fedleagueflash9.wordpress.com, and the articles that I occasionally print, whether it's stars and standings or my predictions, or sometimes a game recap for a game on Sunday or maybe a midweek game, it goes there. So you can check that out at your leisure. I want to thank you so much for joining me for this edition of the Fed Flash Faceoff. Thank you for watching. Whether you watched just a segment or two or the whole thing, I very much appreciate it. Make sure that you hit like, subscribe if you haven't already. We are just shy of 1,000 subscribers here on YouTube, so keep those subscriptions coming in, and make sure to share this as well. You feel free to share this onto your socials, tell a friend, and let them know that, hey, there's somebody that's spending time devoted to discussion about the FPHL. All right, so that is going to conclude our show for this week. And again, thank you so much for joining me. I am Gary Ryan for the Fed League Flash. Until next time, keep your head up, keep your stick on the ice, and as always, be excellent to each other. So long. We'll see you next week.